This is 40K Today. The 40K podcast's so important, they brought the Silent King back just so he could check it out.
Hello and welcome to another daily edition of the 40K Today podcast. I'm your host, John Damaris, and it's Tuesday, the 1st of September, and we're going to talk about the man behind the scenes at Tabletop Titans. And we catch up with another Warhammer hero. Today is a show all about heroes in our hobby. There's a ton of work behind the scenes to keep the Tabletop Titans flowing smoothly. Our own Steve Joel sits down with Bridger to talk about what his role is, and here's a hint, it's a lot.
So, well, let's start with you and how you fell into this or got into this. How did you get to know the guys and get involved in Tabletop Titans?
Oh, yeah. So I moved to the Bay 2 years ago, and Brian was a very prominent member of a local league, or not league, like a narrative group.
Right.
And I joined that narrative group, became very close with Brian. I ran a lot of events in the area. And he played and won a lot of my events. So that's how I got to know Brian. Adrian's also a pretty prominent competitive member in the area. So I met him through competitive 40K. And we just got this idea to make a channel. Like, we play Warhammer. We spend so much time playing anyway. We thought, why not do something with this and share it?
So I always had the impression for some reason that those two, Adrian and Brian, were great mates or great friends that went back, yonks. And that you three had all known each other since childhood, and so it's really more that you kind of met through the hobby and all decided that, hey, this channel thing would be a good idea.
Yeah. Brian and Adrian have known each other for probably 3 or 4 years now, and I've known them for a year and a half, 2 years.
Okay. And when they were divvying up jobs and said, okay, did they say we're going to be the stars and you're going to be the guy behind the scenes? How did you decide? Are you just naturally a technical person? Is that what you do for a day job, or how did you get into that side of it?
Yeah, so I'm a software engineer by trade. So when we first started out, I leaned into a lot of the more technical aspects, but we didn't have any idea, we didn't plan for them to be on the show exclusively.
Right.
It just kind of happened that way, that I kept adding layers of technology on the back end, and it came to the point where I was the only person who had any idea how most of our stuff worked.
Right, sure. So give us some idea of, because when we watch it, and I'm assuming our listeners are familiar, and if they're not, then they really should be, Tabletop Titans is, in my humble opinion, one of the top 2 or 3 channels, and certainly with the addition of making it live, the fact that it's live adds a whole new layer, I think, of enjoyment when you're watching, because it's happening right. It's like watching live sport. It's happening now. You know that there's no editing, there's no extra layers of whatever that are going into controlling this. This is as it happens, which is amazing, and I think adds a lot of complexity to what you have to do.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for all of that. And yes, it is a lot of added complexity. I'm essentially editing live, and our thesis of creating the channel was it takes hundreds of hours to edit battle reports and put it into the production and doing reshoots, and we just thought, what if we could just play a game live and just shoot straight to film, just be done. And so behind the scenes, I'm running around like a madman, head on fire, making sure that everything goes smoothly.
They referenced that in a recent report, because Adrian had to do it once when you were playing your Custodes, which we don't want to go into too deeply. But when Adrian had to, kind of do your job, which I think is when he gained a new appreciation for it. But it is, how many cameras, for example? Let's run some numbers. How many cameras have you got, and what do they have to do?
So we have 5 cameras. We have a top-down, we have a dice cam, we have the front camera, and then we also have a slider cam and a handheld cam. And those are, of those 5, we have 2 different brand of camera, and we sort of developed that over the years. In addition to the cameras, we have 3 microphones, and we have a roadcaster, which is like a sound mixer.
Right.
And then we have wireless HDMI, and 2 of the mics are wireless, so we have all these mic packs, and there's batteries everywhere. Our charging station is massive.
Right. So that's just for the technical. So you've got the 5 cameras, which you have to switch between live, which is like that's like a live sports broadcast. You've also got the mics, which as soon as someone in chat says, Adrian's mic's not working or it's crackling, then you've got to sort that out. And then you've got, as you say, the charging. As soon as a battery goes flat, you have to replace it, or before it goes flat, you have to replace it. And then on top of all of that, you've got the chat to keep up with. So this is like a 3-man job that you're doing by yourself.
Yeah, I've also taken up, because I run the scoreboard, so I keep track of their command points,
right.
I have to follow their stratagems, and all the rules corrections. So it's a lot. It's like 5 jobs.
Yeah, you must love it when Brian kind of looks at you and says, "Can you just look that up for me real quick?" And you're like, "Sure, it's not like I'm doing anything else."
Yeah, I mean, chat's really, really helpful, and that's one of the great things about being live is we can ask a question, and then 30 seconds later we'll get 5 or 6 answers, usually all the same.
One of the usually all the same, yeah. One of the great things as well in the last few weeks, and I don't know exactly when it was added, but I know that I've seen it over the last little while. When you are watching live and you ask a question live, you've now got the ability to contribute to the channel, and then that pretty much guarantees your question gets answered.
Yeah, so YouTube has this super chat feature, which like colors your chat and gives you some extra functionality based on how much you contribute to the channel. We turned that on, I think, a few months ago, and we have made like a commitment to acknowledge and read out all of the super chats, and it's getting it's getting untenable because we're getting to like over 100 super chats an episode now, so it's a lot.
It's a lot. And when you first did it, you were like, "Oh, this is a great idea," and now it's just so hard.
Yeah, we have some like internal documents where we were planning out the growth of the channel. We were like, well, if we get like 5 or 10 super chats a show, that would be crazy and awesome. And then here we are today.
Yeah, well, and this is the thing. You're going to have to make a minimum. I mean, the thing is, I can sit in New Zealand, and I've done a couple of times where I put in a super chat, and it charges me in my local currency, so if I contribute 10 New Zealand dollars, that's like $5 US. It's not enough. You need to be asking for a minimum. I was surprised, actually. I was like, "Hey, can I get away with this?" and I can. So
yeah, so we have a theoretical minimum of $5 US, but I haven't really enforced it. I'm so thankful of all the support from the community, and I really just want to get all of this acknowledged. And also, we have this tricky thing with it displays in your native currency. So if you donate like Australian dollars or New Zealand dollars, it shows up as New Zealand dollars, and it doesn't translate that.
Right.
So we get like 15 different currencies, and I don't know how to.
No, you can't convert. You're doing other stuff. You can't convert on the fly. You'll be saying someone will donate 500 Hong Kong dollars, and you'll be like, "Wow, that's amazing," until you do the conversion. And then you realize. Hey, listen, we're running out of time, and I really appreciate you being a part of the show today. I want to reiterate for our listeners, if they haven't yet tried what you're doing, it is just the greatest thing. It's the most fun. It's my favorite at the moment. I just really enjoy. And what I love about your part in it is that you are absolutely an equal part of the enjoyment of the coverage. You contribute so much along the way, other than all the technical stuff. Just being a part of the conversation with the guys on the show is so good, and it adds so much value. So I'd like you to know that and know how much it's appreciated by us who are watching.
Oh, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it's often easy to get lost behind the curtain, but I've found that our audience is very thankful and appreciative publicly, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah. And we're on the countdown to the return of the sweater too, which I know people will appreciate. Once it hits winter in California, I think we'll be fine, right? Thanks so much, Bridger. Appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you.
Tabletop Titans is such a fantastic channel. A big part of that is Bridger, and I, for one, am very thankful for him. Next up on the program, we talk to a legit hero. Today's episode of 40K Today is brought to you by Frontline Gaming. Frontline Gaming is a one-stop shop for all your Warhammer hobby needs, discounted products, American-made gaming mats and terrain, and a full line of miniatures painting service and daily hobby content. And this can all be found at frontlinegaming.org. Welcome back. Tanya Gates sits down with another Warhammer hero and tells us what it's like to have his name on the wall at Warhammer World, how his podcast came to be, and gives us a very important piece of advice on building a good hobby community.
I'm here today with a certified Warhammer hero. Dan Gomez from the Lonely Havocs podcast is here, and I'm so excited to get down to business with this interview. How are you doing, man?
Hello, Tanya. I am good. How are you?
I'm excellent.
Did I say it right? I got it.
You did. Yeah.
Tanya.
That's correct. Yeah.
This just feels good to say.
Tanya.
Tanya. You got some questions? What are we doing here?
Yeah. I got a few questions for you. The first.
A few? All right. You get one.
Oh, okay. Here it is. Are you ready for it?
I'm joking. Yes. Let's do it. Let's get all of them done. Let's knock it out.
What's your favorite paint color?
My favorite paint color?
Yeah.
What is it called? Oh, it's like fudge. What is the name of it? It's drab. The drab.
Steel Legion drab.
Steel Legion drab. Thank you. Gosh, I'm not good with names. And we already covered that. So yeah, Steel Legion drab is my favorite. I just really like it's out like my base rims. Like you got to rim them up a little bit. And I'm not going to go low hanging fruit there, but you can put it around the rim.
Yep.
And it looks good.
Okay.
It's good for the rim. It's good for everything like pouches.
Yes. It is a go-to for my guard as well.
I love it.
Yeah. So you are a certified Warhammer hero.
So drab.
Your name is on the wall at Warhammer World.
I am, yeah. It's on the wall, yeah. It's good stuff. It's by the toilet. Did you know that?
How does it feel to be immortalized on that wall?
I would really like to go there sometime and see it and get a pic. And, like a lot of the folks in the UK, like Warmongers community are kind enough to send me photos whenever they go. And it's a thing I'm trying to do, like a Havoc pilgrimage where you go and like get your picture taken with it. And it's just really cool. I mean, what are we on our third year, I think, of Warhammer Heroes. So it's nice to kind of be in that first like two, because I was the second year, I think they did Warhammer Heroes whenever I got it. So it's really cool to kind of be on the ground floor of that kind of thing, so to speak. It's just nice. I mean, it was unexpected. And, I'm trying to I don't want to say live up to it, but I'm trying to continue doing what I'm doing and spread my positivity and kind of support the community in these kind of things. And I'd be doing that anyway. But when you're a hero and you got the medal, you feel like you got to keep pushing.
Yeah. So you were honored for your podcast, among other things.
It's part of it. Yeah.
And the podcast is just a super positive space within the hobby. And I was just sort of wondering, how did you get started with that?
So I'm constantly, everyone can relate to this, just jumping from project to project. And I'm like a super like type 3 personality. So I'm just like, I need people to pay attention to me, So like, I'm like, what else can I do? And, so I hadn't done a podcast yet because I've done videos and things, and those, there's about 1 million Warhammer videos out there. So they kind of got lost in the shuffle, So when I did the podcast, I was first like, well, what do I do with the podcast? Because there's so many of those out there as well. And I thought, well, why don't I just basically talk to my friends? And then it kind of spiraled into talking to people that are in the community and then making them my friends forcefully. And I just like yell in their ear for like 2 hours. So if you're into that kind of thing, wow, you should check it out.
I did check out the podcast and I think it's great.
Oh, yeah.
I'm normally not into like long form podcasts, but yours is interesting because after a while, the people really start to like sort of open up and you get them talking about other aspects other than just hobby.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice. Yeah, it's kind of nice just to see people as like whole people, Yeah.
Right. That's the goal there. Like I start off with like the hobby questions and then I hit them with like just some serious stuff. I'm just like, what's your favorite paint color? What's the worst thing that ever happened to you? Like this, and then it just kind of flows, but, I try to I want people to see that like hobbyists are more than just the work that we produce and the things that we like to put on the table. Like everybody has their own story, and the better part of that is that a lot of people have similar stories. And, that we have a lot more in common than just like plastic men on the table and stuff like that. So whenever I ask those more serious, more personal questions, that's when I really start to like peel back the layers and kind of see, that we all have a way much more in common than we anticipate.
Yeah. So one last question. You talk quite a bit about being an ambassador for the hobby.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for other people who might want to make their hobby spaces more welcoming or inclusive to others?
Really, and this is really hard to do, you just don't judge people for the thing that they're into. Like, so someone brings their Ultramarines and you're like, I'm just going to smash these off the table. But you got to be nice. You got to let them bring their Ultramarines or their Tau or whatever it is. Or like if they have a vision of like pink polka dotted Space Marines or orcs with purple skin, don't stand there and be like, well, the lore says they couldn't have purple skin. Like stuff like that is just, there's no room for it. We don't have time for that. Let people express themselves the way they want to express themselves. If someone wants to run an entire army of Vespid, for example, like let them do that and be like, hey, that's awesome, but like don't judge the way someone else is interpreting the hobby. Let them do it the way they want to do it. If they want to glue, strange things together and call it a croot, cool, whatever, man. Just be supportive, try to see where they're coming from, and try to find that common ground because they're excited about it in their way. And sometimes the way a newer person is excited about it is reminiscent of how we started, and we need to tap into that and like sort of understand that they're finding their way and we've found our way, and we might think our way is the way, but we got to let these people do their thing.
I love it. Thank you so much for being such a positive force in the community.
I'm trying. We do what we can.
Well, you're doing a great job. Keep up the great work, man.
I'm gonna do it. I wasn't going to, but since you said it, Tanya, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Tanya. Not all heroes wear capes, indeed. Who's ready for the catchiest jingle in all of 40K?
It's the model of the day, the model of the day, the model of the day.
Today's model of the day was submitted through our 40K Today hashtag on Instagram. Friends of the show and my personal paint studio, Stiff Neck Studios, brought us a beautifully disgusting great unclean one. Or it kind of looks like Nurgle, actually. The skin is gnarly green, the guts are, in a word, gross, but in a great way, trust me. I love the character of this model with all the Nurglings who are hanging out, and great use of contrasting colors, and the blue flames really round out the palette nicely. This would be a great centerpiece for any army, and you should check it out. Now, if you have a model that we should feature on the show, or you've seen a model that should be featured on the show, let us know with our hashtag on Instagram, 40K, 2day, or toss us a message on Facebook. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. A big thanks to our content producer, Alex Boehner, our social media superstar, Tanya Gates, and our technical producer, Seamus Ronan, for all their hard work once again in putting the program together. We'll see you all tomorrow. Until then, for Steve Joel and Paul Murphy, I'm John Damaris, and that's what's happening in 40K Today.